right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Let's see, it is Wednesday today, so happy hump day. And let's go ahead and jump right in. So my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. It is September 22nd, 2021. Let's take a look at where we are. So moving into today, we have a couple of economic events that are transpiring or are about to transpire. Things that we should be aware of as intraday traders. The most notable being, if we shift over to our calendar, we have our FOMC announcement and then the Fed chair press conference. These are occurring at 2 and 2:30 market time, respectively. And the market will be anticipatory of some of the information provided in these announcements for this session. We also have the ongoing news cycle regarding the Evergrande, I guess, crisis or aspects of the company being able to pay its bond holders and overall its interest on debt. So we did get a little bit of information on some of the onshore payments of their debt. This is going to be some of the holders of debt within the China country. And ultimately, some of that payment has been able to be processed. Basically, they were able to complete their interest payments on time for onshore debt. Approximately about, I believe it was 59 million, I want to say. Of course, converted into Chinese yuan. Now, what is still ongoing and unclear with this company is whether or not they'll be able to make their offshore debt payments, which will be for the majority a large amount of U.S. dollar debt payments to investments from the United States. Whether or not they can complete this payment and how they are able to do so, if there is any sort of government support, along with the perception of how this will transpire moving forward, as it is something that we would like to not see occur again for market stability. Those will be some interesting catalyst news events for specifically Thursday. I believe the due date for the offshore payments is going to be September 23rd, and therefore we should hear more about that either later today or into tonight and tomorrow as the Chinese markets open at different times. So moving into our normal S&P analysis and ultimately looking at what we did yesterday, market was relatively flat performing overall. We actually started with a strong open and an attempt to enter the gap that has been formed. But if you'll notice, throughout the intraday, we had essentially a lot of back and forth price action. There were some opportunities to the upside with regards to buying specific support levels that have been established, along with a lot of distributive patterns on the intraday occurring around the 436 area. And what this looks like on a short time frame is, of course, this back and forth sort of range bound trading, albeit we did close weaker than we opened. Some of those examples of that distribution pattern occurred here, and you'll notice that it's occurring around this 436 price level. If you'll recall, we marked this price level prior because the S&P has a number of daily candle reactions against this level. And ultimately, the market may be willing to use this as an area of consideration, ultimately to set the stage for more bullish action through the gap, or bearish action against this level, essentially treating it as support turn resistance. Going back to our intraday, we also saw that the drawdown from the morning session, if we look at just a 5-day, that actually brought us back to, I believe it's right around here, our previous day close. So essentially the market was able to respond to how we closed on Monday's session, which of course had that very sharp short covering rally into the after hours. The response there is that we are not necessarily disrespecting or ultimately breaking this area, but it is starting to form as an area of interest for the market. So we're seeing, the selling pressure up in this zone around this 436 level. And then we have basically Monday's previous day close as an area of interest based around yesterday's price reactions and the response from bulls actually buy this area. So some things to keep in mind: this range is starting to give us more information. And ultimately, because our performance is not one of bullishness or bearishness, that could easily be seen by just taking this aggregation and changing it to a 2-day. You'll notice that the past 2 sessions, we are actually forming a lot of indecision. Fairly obvious in that we had an inside day yesterday, but more specifically, our opens and our closes from the Monday session along with the close of yesterday's session are very close to each other. So we're able to oscillate and essentially pivot around this area, albeit underneath our previous support level of 436. So it's an interesting market analysis to come into today because we do have another sort of hesitant market event that ultimately the SPY could remain in this area and react against these levels until we get some information from the Fed. Additionally, be aware that any surprise information that we may get from the ongoing event in China, that can obviously spark a reaction against the market. So long story short, if you're trading today, be very aware of high volatility news events. If you're obviously tuned in to the Bear Bull Traders chat room, have your Benzinga on, look for those events to occur. And obviously, if you are for or against the reaction, obviously stop out normally or look to get into the reaction, as it may set the stage for a trend if some clarity does come about. Same basic concept with our Nasdaq. We know that 360, the sort of flat balance zone support from previous ranges, has not been breached yet. So we're still seeing a little bit of pause in the Nasdaq relative to the SPY, which is broken down from its 50-day moving average along with the breach of that 436 area. So tech stocks, along with some of our large market caps, have been holding fairly well. We're actually seeing some strength in certain industries and sectors. I would argue that semiconductors are actually holding up fairly well against this high volatility. We had stocks like AMD actually performing some of the technical structure that we expected on the SPY, something like a breach of a previous support, but a strong reaction against some psychological or known support area, in this case 100, and then ultimately coming back and trying to fill the upside gap. This is sort of what we were looking for in the SPY on Monday and Tuesday session, and so far that has not transpired due to the uncertainty in the macroeconomic environment. Now, some things that we might also want to consider for moving ahead. One thing that we often like to look at when things are changing is market breadth. What we have here is just the equal weight ETF, so it's the RSP for the S&P 500. And this gives some context into the fact that we do have relatively poor market breadth, not only during the previous week's sell-off, but also the fact that we are returning into sort of a trading range that has been formed over a period of time. Normal sort of balance rules apply here. If we are to breach a range and then come back into it, oftentimes you can perceive this as a false breakout or sort of a lack of conviction to get out of balance. And oftentimes we will see a return to the low end of the range at a minimum. This is just sort of normal balance rules of the market, and it can often be seen when you enter ranges along with the first or second attempts to leave larger balance ranges or balance zones in the market. There simply isn't enough accumulation or just buildup of energy to get out of these larger ranges on the first or second attempt, which is why a lot of initial breakouts often fail, as market participants are unaware of how much energy is needed to get away from value. Additionally, if we look at our Nasdaq equal weight, we see that once again, like the Nasdaq, the breach of the 50 here is a moment of concern, as we have seen some strong pullbacks to the 50, but these have led to strong returning breadth into the Nasdaq. Now, it's worth noting that the Nasdaq has pulled back to something like the 100 on the ETF before, and these reactions have led to higher highs. But oftentimes on deeper pullbacks, we're looking for a bit more clarity, something like a retracement to form. And we can start to do this across the market as we are trying to decide whether or not the market's ready to return to a bullish structure, or if it is going to remain bearish or indecisive for a period of time, ultimately looking for ranges to form as we get more information. We can draw something as simple as our previous swing low as our first area to consider. Now, some additional risk factors that we may want to consider. We're keeping an eye on the dollar. We know that the dollar has a lot of respect around this approximate 93, forgive me, 93.20 to 93 area. We know that these moves against this area are moments of concern. A strong overall dollar is going to lead to weaker equity performance, and ultimately a rush to the dollar. If we see a large sort of expansion of this area and an upside move, will sort of confirm a large range consolidation that has been structurally been gearing up for a larger than normal move in this area. We've been looking for breakdowns for the bullish scenarios, and that's going to help out things like commodity prices, metals, and ultimately some inflationary industries do like a weak dollar, given the fact that their performance and their capital flow is based around commodity prices. But because we are not seeing it, because we're seeing some testing of this area, once again, more concern, more just hesitation in this market, as we have a dollar that may be ready to break out if once again we could start to clear this 93.20 to 93 area. As always, if we're looking for some ideas of how high that could go, we often want to start drawing retracements and extending them out to see where are some areas of concern. Obviously, horizontal support and resistance is your friend. You may want to mark something like previous reactions against highs and lows, and then start to draw your fib extensions to see if we get a breakout from range. This range very well defined in the dollar, what is the expectation for upside, and ultimately how significant of an impact would that have to the commodities and equities market. Additionally, crypto not necessarily performing well in a strong dollar environment or an uptrending dollar environment. We come back to bonds after a couple of days, still having bonds pivoting around, in the case of TLT, the 150 price level. Not seeing a lot of clarity in terms of conviction. Both the ZB, which is going to be the 30-year, you can see how we essentially have done nothing for a long period of time. But with all of this inactivity, we also see range compression occurring. So the lack of clarity here is often due to the fact that we are starting to gear up for something maybe a bit more significant. And ultimately, we're looking for that to be more clear as we start to shift into a new phase of the market, potentially with September and October being weaker historical months in the equities market. So bonds and notes kind of situated around these stable price levels, but with any sort of volume reaction through this area, and ultimately a bit more clarity with TLT moving either for or against the 150, that could ultimately spark another cycle of movement in the equities market. Our VIX volatility still remains elevated. What's different about this elevation, of course, is the fact that we're stabilizing in this area for a period of a couple of days. We're seeing some of this volatility being bid up intraday. And ultimately, this is normal as we get into these highs, but what we haven't seen is a lot of rejection as of yet. So staying on guard during this indecisive period. And when it comes to how to play the market, we had I would say the opportunity to discuss some strategies inside of variable traders with regards to some different option spreads. Different volatilities inside of the equities markets, along with the fact that we don't really have a direction as of yet, can lead traders to start to form more delta neutral strategies. Things like selling premium against certain expected move ranges, selling straddles, or iron condors. Even though the volatility is a bit elevated, you could look further out in time and ultimately sell further dated contracts while also considering a larger than expected move on the shorter dated contracts once we do have a confirmation of movement. So some different ways to consider entering this market if you are capable of using options as one of your strategies. Now, one thing that's been worth mentioning as well, we bring it up slightly due to it being a fairly slow indicator for the overall market, is the Skew index. Oftentimes when we have this elevated skew, it simply is a way to understand that there is a bit of downside tail risk in the market. Basically, the potential for a larger than normal sort of side swipe to the downside as the type of hedging that's occurring is facilitating this movement. During this most recent drop, we've seen the Skew index come off quite a bit. Doesn't necessarily mean that there's no risk in this market, but a lot of that tail risk has potentially been mitigated on this first drawdown. A lot of that hedging activity may have been subsided, and ultimately we did see a lot of volatility through the past couple of sessions in the options market, leading to both the high volume in the S&P, along with some of the events that occurred last Friday with regards to quad witching. So something to note, we've been in this stable, I would say, range of Skew index for a period of time before the most recent May to July movement. And you'll notice here that even though the Skew index topped out in about late June, the market obviously continued to be bullish for another couple of months. So it's simply a fairly lagging indicator, but showcasing the potential for downside risk. Oftentimes you will see things like divergences forming in the product of the S&P when you have this elevated skew. And it's often because there's sort of a disparity between downside pressure and downside hedging versus the upside momentum of the market itself. So something to note, larger than normal movement, hence we want to call it out. And finally, let's talk about just our energy market. It's been a few days since we've looked at it. Amidst some of this volatility, crude is often highly correlated to a strong economic condition along with a strong equities market. And what we're seeing in crude is just a facility of a trending capability. Wow, I said that poorly. But basically, the crude market has continued to essentially trend amidst a lot of this volatility. Um, we also know that natural gas has been an outperformer, albeit on the weekly, we are seeing the effects of this sort of overblown momentum move. Larger than normal pullback, I would say, even though we had all of this upside, the past couple of sessions have been a lot of selling pressure. And ultimately, this setup is a bit poor given we are extended from the main trend line. So when you're looking at maybe possible buy setups in previous strong performing areas of the market, notice that with natural gas, not only do we put in this larger topping tail on the weekly, but even though the daily trend is coming back to a buy zone, something like the 20, we are extended from trend. And it just sort of facilitates a bit of caution, as oftentimes markets will return to trend after getting extended away from it. It's sort of a return to the norm or a reversion to the mean. So as we've kind of walked through this market, as we've discussed some upcoming events today and into tomorrow, and as we're seeing lots of risk factors still, I would say, in a hesitant state. The dollar and the VIX being the main two. Bonds have not given a lot of clarity, but ultimately have not declined significantly either. And our skew factor, of course, coming down, but a lot of that may be being rolled with some of the downside on Monday. When we look at all these factors and we kind of evaluate where we are, there's this idea of trying to be early into the next round of movement. And oftentimes being early has the advantage of having low risk in regards to your risk is tight relative to the setup. This can be an advantageous thing in a market that has a lot of clarity, something like a trending market, something with a high conviction support or resistance. Taking those more aggressive stances and ultimately defining your risk very tight relative to the entry can lead you to have larger than normal trades. Your R to R values are a bit elevated, and a lot of traders ultimately like this setup and strategy, whether it be intraday or not. But when it comes to the market at large, the argument I would propose is that with the hesitation across the board, with the defensive posture of where we are on the chart, the fact that even with lack of clarity, we can find moments where the market sets up after clarity is found. Something back in time to argue is something like this. Not necessarily looking at the lows, but ultimately allowing the market to come back into a bullish posture and getting back long if the market is to continue. If we're looking short, then ultimately bears need to withdraw from this area and build more energy back at resistance, basically to trap bulls into thinking that all clear, everything is good, and ultimately that downside can occur once again, essentially perpetuating the downside. So the lack of clarity in this area is something to argue for posturing your next set of trades. Hence why we're looking at things like neutral directional positions, um, essentially becoming a bit of an income generating, becoming more of an income generator with your option positions, selling some of this elevated premium out in time, and allowing for the market to clarify directionality before looking to get long or short. Allowing for the market to reestablish its trend. Basically, this can be a great buying opportunity if the market wants to continue. But if we start to break down from here, the risk is significant. And ultimately, the ability for you to either stop out or reassess the next setup is going to have to come in stages as we start to decline back through our support and resistance zones on the market. This is, of course, if we go down from this point. And then from there, if none of this occurs and we become range bound as an overall S&P range starts to form, we want to start using our tools like we've used in other markets. The IWM has been a great example of a range bound market. And regardless of directionality, buying lows, selling highs, selling premium against the range, ultimately leveraging the extension of VPOC, moves away from value, having a higher probability to return to value. Leveraging that information can be the next phase of this market if we start to essentially move back and forth with a lack of strong conviction in either camp. So let's consider some of those things and maybe think about how to posture yourself as an intraday trader, a swing trader, or ultimately as an investor if this market starts to evolve in those ways. We have plenty of time to consider those options. And ultimately, if you're looking to set up some of those trades, we can talk about a couple of simple ways to do that in tomorrow's session. Some things like in-out spreads, sort of low risk, low reward setups, but allowing for you to capture smaller oscillations in the market. Obviously, iron condors, income selling strategies like strangles and straddles, all of those have their place in different markets. And of course, if we get the momentum returning back to the upside, or we get strong selling pressure against resistance, that is going to set the stage for some downside plays, things like, bear put spreads. I'm trying to think of the right terminology. Debit put spreads, or ultimately even selling some premium near the resistance highs, near all-time highs. People trying to anticipate new upside in the market, trying to collect some of that premium to facilitate your downside play. So lots of ways to consider the market moving forward. We just don't have a good bit of information yet. So let that information come. Don't necessarily have to be early to capture the premium or capture the movement. But one thing you do not want to do is be early in the wrong direction and ultimately not see the writing on the wall, let's say, the warning signs that the market is throwing. So that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. We'll think about a few of those discussion items tomorrow, and then moving into Friday, depending on what sort of reactions we've had, Friday can be a fairly volatile event if things are starting to return to normal, because we'll have a lot of people maybe positioned short, thinking that this is going to be sort of the big one, and we can look to our expected move to see what the upside might be, as the market has already tested the downside expected move. Market may actually return to normal in a very volatile way to kind of reclaim some of I would guess selling pressure or the posturing that we've seen. So that said, let's see what happens today, and we'll talk more then.
Hey, what's going on, Norm? How's it going, buddy?
Hey, good morning, buddy. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Flying by the seat of my pants. I woke up this morning with an email with Carlos saying that his little one didn't feel well last night. So I was like, we can cover. And I was in the middle of my morning routine with all my kids. So I'm just basically like, everybody go, just go, 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 get out of here. Get everything spun up and running. So looks like we're rocking and rolling. Hello, everybody. How's everyone out there doing? BBT fam, YouTube fam, what's going on, everybody? Good to see everybody. I'm here. I'm going to cover for Carlos today. His brand new baby was doing what babies do.
Or
Yep.
your gain or your levels are way high, especially on
Really?
YouTube. It's
Really high?
yeah,
Okay.
going out eardrum. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's try this.
Tweak
I had to
that
make
a little bit.
I had to make a really fast mic switch and everything to get ready for this morning. How's
Sure. No.
how's that? Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, I think so. It seems.
How's the mic there, YouTube? Give me a hi in the chat if the mic sounds better.
Yeah, it's. I think it sounds better.
Okay, cool. All right, let me know, guys. I can adjust my mic's gain on the fly, just off the mic. So if I need to, I can dial it down a little. Just let me know, especially when I'm all hyped up and excited. I get all talking loud.
I would kick it down even a little bit more, brother.
All right, coming down one more notch.
There you go.
All right, gaining it down. Test,
right.
test. Mic, yay. All right. Good time. So what's going on, man? How's your morning going?
All good. Had a sick one yesterday at home myself, so I was out for a good chunk of the day. But he's back. No COVID.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
it's a weird. It's one of the guys in the room when I let everybody, all the BBT guys, know that I'd be back this morning. He's like, it's a weird world when we're happy they have strep.
yeah, ain't that the truth?
So anyway.
So yeah, we my boy had COVID 2 weeks ago. So he woke up with a just kind of like a little bit of a runny nose kind of a deal, and we were like, all right, let's test him out. We gave him the test, and it came back positive. So that was it though. He did really, really well with it. So I know obviously it impacts lots of people different ways. He breezed through it, barely ran or fever. He got the light version. So God bless that, right?
Yep.
So anyway, let's get into some stock stuff. And then we'll get moving forward. So I know if we notice today in our gappers list here, we do have some stuff on the gap up. Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me fix that a little bit. Let me fix that. It's gonna try and adhere to this one. Hold on. I gotta move this one. So we got a little bit of stuff moving here, and it's gonna just go wherever it wants. Look at that. It's auto fixing itself.
It's auto screwing itself up, really.
And there's no way to do anything about it. All right, folks, I'm going to just let this...
Just scoot it over to the side.
I'll let it lean there,
put the other one
and I'll
over
let this one lean there, and we'll just deal
go.
with it. We'll just deal with that. What are we going to do, right? All right, so we'll just lean it. All right, so we do have some stuff gapping up today. Maybe we get a little bit of bounce from all the selling we've been having, maybe just a little bit to the downside. FedEx or FDX poking out there, so that'll be interesting to take a look at. Man, I'm a little flustered this morning here. Let's see here. So daily chart, now we've got this thing sneaking over into my daily chart. So let's see if I can... Oh, that was great. Awesome. Man, it's going to be one of those mornings for me. I just closed it. Oh, let me... file... load layout. Should be that one. Nope. All right. Man.
The gap down isn't that big, so let's just move on, and I'll tell you what's on there.
Cool.
You
We can
just
do
leave
that.
that closed and leave the gap up open, and I'll mention what's on the gap down.
All right. So let's see. Let's go over to the new main here. We'll cut over to that, and then I'll do a little bit of getting some charts back up while we get started on that. Sorry, guys, for the discombobulation this morning. Just I wasn't expecting to cover this morning, and I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit, and I normally take a good 30 or 45 minutes to make sure all these windows and everything are where they're supposed to be. And today they're not doing that. All right, so we got that. At least it's still mapped. Okay, so we've got Sava time. Sava, this one pops up in the list a lot. Not my favorite stock to generically trade, but it does have some order flow this morning, and it does find itself gapping up nicely on the daily after a bit of a consolidation here. What do we got going on? Anything interesting with our dude Sava today?
They had some. They announced some analysis on a trial for an Alzheimer's treatment. So that just
Right
dropped
on.
a few minutes ago.
New trial, so kind of a buy the rumor kind of situation for me. It's like what news of a trial, right? It's not like the trial was successful. So, but that should be interesting. We've got SFIX in the house, which is Stitch Fix. I've seen this one on the list before. I can't say that I've ever traded it. How about you, Norm? You anything interesting
I have.
on?
Yeah, they traded. They had earnings last night.
Nice. So earnings, and you've traded? Not bad. All right. Well, that one will go on then. I'd love to have some nice traders. Yesterday was a really interesting day. It just kind of like chopped around a lot for me. It finally got going, but I was already bored and done trading by then. Let's see. ATER, Ethereum Inc. Got a little bit of volume this morning. Not a considerable amount. Kind of interesting daily chart, how it's continuously getting pushed down on all of its candles. Look, this thing always sells up and gets pushed down. Today finds itself trying to break up again. So anything interesting on ATR or
This ATER's been
a little low flow?
Yeah, well, it's been in the no, I mean it's mid float 25-ish on the lower side of mid, but I mean it's been in play off and on continuously the last several weeks. I don't know that it's anything great, but it's on our gappers list every morning.
Yeah, here it is, right? Yesterday, it does not look like it traded like insanely well yesterday. I mean, it basically had a big opening range, like pop in the first minute, and then more or less just chopped the rest of the day. So it'd be interesting to see how that one plays. I probably stay away from it myself. Golden Ocean Group, lacking some order flow in the morning. I did have this big volume on the
trash,
but it doesn't look that great. Trash for you, trash for me. I like it. Moving on. Sophie, Sophie Technologies also gapping up. Another one I really don't trade very much. This is why. You can see it kind of did nothing for almost the entire day and moved a little bit at the end of the day. Anything good here?
Yeah, SoFi got an upgrade, this analyst upgrade this morning with the $25-ish price target, I believe, 25. So
all right, this one's got a big
I don't know
flow.
if that's worth anything.
We'll throw it on there and see if it looks a little interesting in a minute. Don't want to cloud up with too much stuff, but here's Vail. I haven't seen Vail for a while, but it is here. Big push down, bounce with some volume, now gapping up towards the averages. Still under all the averages, though, so that's going to make it a little interesting. But I do like this volume build into the reversal. Does Vail have news today?
Yeah, Vale got a downgrade last night and this morning. It usually doesn't trade very well. It's a Brazilian mining stock. A lot of these commodity stocks have been up and down for a couple of different reasons recently. So I won't give you individual info as we go through this. Stuff like Vale, BP, Rio, CLF, X, FCX are on our list, and it's all the same kind of undercurrent. So
right on. Cool. Okay, good. All right, so we'll go through a few of these, and then we'll weed out and get to the good stuff here after we run through some different things. IPHA, it's a pharma. I know that. Order flow is not great. Looks like a really weird trader. I don't know if I'd be into this one. Anything worthy here on IPHA?
It's French biotech. It has been in play recently. I don't see anything fresh as of this morning. So I can't tell you. It's been in play quite a bit recently. If you look back about 3 days or so, had that big, crazy day from, 750 to 12 and all the way back down to 8. So
yeah,
it might get
wild.
some intraday moves, but I don't know how well it'll trade. It looks pretty sparse right now on the order flow to me. That needs more volume. It needs
I
more
agree.
flow.
I agree, and then in the past couple of days, it's really been smushed right back down into this like sub $8 level.
Yeah,
It doesn't look great to me.
it looks it's on the verge of me calling it garbage within the first 2 seconds. I mean, on the 5 minute chart, you're getting 2,000 shares about every 5 minutes going through. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, for sure. We'll leave that one to the call outs as well as we will leave DVAX. What's DVAX here? Order flow not great. There is some stuff on the level 2 for DVAX, but we're still not really getting any order flow. Really indecisive looking candle here. Anything worthy, interesting there, or is this a move on her?
No, they had some COVID news, so it could be in play. It could trade all right. We'll see. It's not that great this morning. We didn't do the market update. I'm going to preface a lot of this with something, and that is there's a massive Fed meeting, the September meeting that people have anticipated for quite a long time this morning. That's happening. The meeting was yesterday and today. As always, the press release for their monetary policy will come out at 2 p.m. this afternoon, Eastern time, and then Jerome Powell's press conference will be at 2:30. I think we might get some morning moves in some of these, but often we see, especially on these big impactful Fed days, things will slow down quickly and become essentially stagnant before that 2 o'clock meeting, and then you'll have insane volatility at that point. So,
right on. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, and I've seen that happen as well too, where you see these days where everyone's just kind of anticipating to see what the news is. So you'll have some aggressive moves by day traders like us trying to get paid, but everyone big is going to stay out and wait for the good or bad news, right? All right, cool. So let's keep doing what we're doing here. LCID. This one has been in play the past couple of days. I know I've taken a couple of stabs at it and made a little money here and there. Not the best. I've had better traders as far as just like continued directional movement. LCID seems to pull back a bit. You can see like we had this big move and we came really back, but look at these dramatic pullbacks on the 5 minute here as it retests. You don't get these just nice clean moves like on some others. But if you look at the daily, obviously in play, obvious volume, obviously pushing. So any unique catalyst on LCID, or is it just doing its thing?
Still doing its thing from the last. The last big news I saw on it was what sparked this upward move and it being in play recently, which is a big B of A upgrade. So,
I mean, you can see like back at September the 1st, I mean, this thing just took a whole ton of volume and it's basically just been running ever since. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on today. Can give us some continued opportunities. FCX, which is Freeport, McMoran, interesting. It's been finding some higher volume on the daily, but not a huge fan of the daily chart itself. Let's see, order flow lacking. Anything interesting on FCX?
Yeah, well, no, this falls into the mining. Freeport, McMoran, TTE, Rio, BP, X, CLF, all those are going to fall into that.
All right. We'll put him on secondary just to see if it wakes up at all. Right now, looking a little sleepy. But I do like the way it's pushing into R4, though. But we'll see what happens. TTE stepping in. Total Energies. So order flow not good at all. It found itself gapped on like maybe a block order or something like that. And it is up above VWAP. But this looks like junk.
It's French oil and gas with 2.2 billion share float. It's shit.
Yeah. All right, cool. I agree. Did we do Rio Tinto? No. Similar. Similar. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of this one. All right. Our buddy BP. So BP's always looks horrible.
It can be
in
your
pre-market.
buddy. It's not mine.
Yeah, I can't say I've traded it any time in the past 2 years, but it's a name. Looks algo at best this morning, but this thing never trades well in the pre-market. Maybe see if this thing's going to try and. I mean, it is at the top of a range, so if you're interested in these kind, that would be the better of these, if you can even call it that. Let's see, is X going to give anything to us today? X found itself gapped down quite a bit a couple of days ago and has been kind of hammering this little narrow range at the bottom of this like overall major range. Any particular news on X here, or is this just kind of tying in with all of that?
All the others.
Cool. Roll, ROLL, RBC bearings. Cool. Bearings are cool. Order flow could be better. Pretty high price actually. Big volume candle yesterday. So did some specific news come in on this one yesterday? It had a bunch of volume.
Pricing of a secondary, I believe.
Oh. Not the best. I don't like those secondary offerings very much. All right, and then we've got Oxy. Oxy's going to be doing with BP and all the rest of them. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's pop over. Normally, what I like to pay attention to is when everything's gapping up, I like to see what's gapping down. Because, if the market's feeling pretty strong in one direction, seeing stocks going the other direction is often a sign of some form of catalyst or something. Short float really high as always on WKHS, gapping down. Short float percent 36%, which is fairly steep. Finds itself on a big gap down today with some orders coming in right now. Problem for me on WKHS is it's a $7 stock now, and I just really have trouble trading stocks once they get into this price range. They just get so much. Just everything everywhere. It gets really hard to pick direction. So any specific news on WKHS? This thing's really dropping.
Yeah, they actually just dropped some news on this. Vehicle they have, they're suspending deliveries. This news continues to come out right now. Suspend deliveries on a vehicle. It's got a bunch of recalls on it. There's some other issues that they said they're going to have to do some updates and enhancements to make it hit safety standards and such. So no bueno.
No bueno at all, huh? Man, I mean, this stock has been hurting. I mean, my goodness. I mean, you're talking $40, barely, not even, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, $40 stock. Now it's $7.37 and looking to test the low that it put back in May. Or actually, it already did test that. So, yeah, it could be a bad day for WK, or a continuation of a series of very bad days for WKHS. Yeah. All right. So what?
Harry K, good, one of our members, great guy. Thank you for the super chat. $9 going to cure childhood cancer, and it's his son's It's his kid's birthday today.
Nice. Happy birthday.
So, happy birthday, AK.
Happy birthday, AK. Man, that's cool, Harry. Thank you.
One.
So Anthony threw out there real quick, Norm, how do you check order flow? Thank you in advance. So just to give you a quick thing, when we're looking at that, basically, if you have a time and sales, it's really easy to see if there's order flow because your time and sales will be moving. And as long as there's movement on your time and sales, you got order flow. But just on a general chart, just look at let's look at, where was it at? We'll just look at BP, right? So notice on BP, how sporadic the candles are, how choppy the moves are, and how there isn't any pattern forming or any movement of any kind. It's just kind of stagnant. This means we don't have order flow. Just a really easy way to see it in the chart. But if you have a time and sales setup, that's another way. If your time and sales is stagnant and not moving, you don't have order flow. Think of a river, right? It's got to be moving. All right.
Take a quick look at IPHA. Because it was one we talked about earlier. That's probably the best one I see on a 1 minute chart where you just have a bunch of nonsense candles with no volume.
Yeah. Here you go.
That's a good indication in the pre-market. I mean, that the time and sales is the best. I mean, that you'll just see orders continually going through there and smoothly. And if they're not, there you go. So.
Hey, Nathan in the house. Thanks for the chat, buddy.
Yes, Nathan. Thank you.
And Peter. Coming in big. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. Thanks for the help. We'll have Norm do some announcements in a little bit, and we'll tell you guys where all that's going. Let's go ahead. We got FDX and B Big left, and then we'll pop into some we'll get into our community announcements, and then we'll find some levels. We got FDX, which is FedEx. I have traded FedEx before. It has its moments when it's not being crazy spread, but it is gapped down today, so we've got something going on. Is this like an earnings deal?
they had a downgrade this morning.
Oh,
I believe
downgrade.
was the main catalyst. They had earnings last night too. Excuse me.
I see.
But
Okay.
they had a downgrade on top. Sorry, I was looking.
so-
I was trying to find something out, and I got a little bit distracted. So yeah, but they had earnings last night. They've got some, just like a lot of people do. They have some issues with costs. So
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
workers, costs, supply chain issues. Sounds like a broken record.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to think gas prices have gone up, right? They've like doubled in the past year. So you can imagine if you run a fleet of delivery vehicles, having gas prices double probably doesn't like help the bottom line a whole lot. FedEx has been steadily downtrending for quite a while. Now with this, it's dropping. So FedEx, I'll be watching that today for sure to see if we can get some kind of a play out of it. And then good old B-Big. I see B-Big getting traded a lot. I haven't had a lot of success with this one, but I have seen others have really big days on it. Right now, we do have some orders coming in, lower price stock, mid-float. What do you think, Norm? Anything unique on B-Big, or are we just kind of being B-Big right now?
I mean, this one's been in play a lot recently. They had some news last night that doesn't really sound anything, or yesterday that doesn't sound particularly special. So I think it's just kind of continuing its in play with no new catalyst.
Right on. Cool. All right, y'all. Well, let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and roll over into some community announcements with Norm. He's going to walk you through everything we've got going on for the rest of the week and today, and then we will pop back over and I'll run through and grab you guys some levels, and then we'll have Andrew and Brian in here to do a little live trading. All yours, my friend.
All right, man. So last night was Andrew's 920 trade book presentation. That will be up in the education center if it's not already soon. And then tonight, Andrew's going to be doing a town hall with Dr. Katz. Not really a town hall. It's just kind of a discussion about Andrew's trading journey and life journey and everything else. So it should be especially interesting. Be sure to show up there 8 p.m. this evening. And then next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m., you're going to have Mike talking about mindfulness during trading. All right. As we've mentioned, all Super Chat, Super Sticker revenue donated is going to be matched dollar for dollar by Andrew and donated to charity. This month's charity is Cure Childhood Cancer in honor of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. To give you an idea of where things sit, site donations right now, we've got a little over $800, $825. And this is actually what I was looking up. We've got about 600 in Super Chat donations this month from YouTube. That does not count the last 2 days, so it's a little bit of a lag. Anyway, if we sincerely appreciate it. Kids really appreciate it, and it means a lot to us. So thank you very much. All right. So if you want to participate in the member trade of the day and trade of the week, take a screenshot of your best trade of the day with the entries and exits on it. Add as much commentary as you can to describe the trade. Post it on Twitter, tagging at Bear Bull Traders, at MikeB_BBT, and at NormBBT. Also use hashtags BBT Family, Day Trading, and Stock Market. We'll announce a winner each afternoon on Twitter and in the room. And then all those trades of the day are eligible for Trade of the Week, which will be voted on by the team over the weekend and announced on Monday. All right, and if you're watching on YouTube, first of all, we always sincerely appreciate hitting that like button, subscribing, and the notification bell. It really does help the channel out, even that little like that takes 2 seconds. If you'd like to try out the room, you can use the promo code PREMARKET24. So if you go to bearbulltraders.com, scroll down about halfway down the page, you'll see that test drive 7 days. Click that test drive now. Enter the promo code to get the discount. Fill it out. That is the only time it will be charged. It will be $24. It will cancel after 7 days. It will not auto-renew. You have to choose a monthly or annual membership after that. It gives you 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the room. Also gives you access to the onboarding class that is done live each Monday evening.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Norm, for going through all of that for us. As you guys can see, BBT has a lot loaded up for you guys constantly for you guys to come in here. Everyone out on YouTube, I'm saying, I joined this family a long time ago, a few years ago, and it has been one of the best decisions I have made for my trading career. So if you're looking to just get a taste of that, and you haven't already, use that, get in there and just check us out for a week and give us an opportunity to win you over. I really think we will. So let's go ahead and I'll start grabbing some levels. Also for YouTube and the BBT chat room, keep in mind I'm going to come out to you guys and grab a couple of tickers as well to review from your side of things. So because right now I'm not seeing a ton in here I'd like to trade, so I'm hoping maybe between the chat room and YouTube, maybe we can pop out a few more things. So, and I know the order was a little bit out. Normally I would have grabbed a couple tickers already, but I'll be honest with you, I was a little out of sorts this morning just trying to get ready for the show because I wasn't expecting to cover, and we got it done though. So one thing I just want to start with is I want to come out to the general SPY. All right, just look at the S&P and just see what's happened. Notice we did have a couple of days ago a big drop. All right, and it came back with high volume. This is testing the 100 moving average. This is an EMA, but SMA will fall in really close to here as well. And we came back and tested this. This 100 moving average for many is the consideration between bull and bear, right? So when you see your stock staying above the 100 moving average, it is easy to just kind of assume that you're still looking a little bullish. But if once you lose that 100 and you're trending down, that's kind of like the delineation between people say it's a bull market or a bear market. Generically depends on where you are in relation to like the 100 and 200 MAs, right? So now what we found is after this big volume on the SPY, we find ourselves building on a little lower volume yesterday, but that's not too bad of a thing. And today we find ourselves gapping up. This might be indications that we're going to try and bounce a bit today. Now, I think the SPY has plenty more downside, so I don't know what this bounce entails. Maybe we squeeze back and fill this gap a bit before consolidating and moving further down, or consolidating and moving up. But it looks like we may attempt to fill this gap a little bit, which would be a very interesting play. That also explains why we've got so much on the gap up. So with the SPY posturing that way, we're really going to have two kind of plays here. We're either going to play the breakout of 436, this area, previous days open versus high, right, and look at those levels. Or if this holds up here, we throw a lot of volume and start the downtrend, then we may be shorting here and looking for a loss of PDC, previous day's close, right? So we have to keep an eye on the market today because the market's going to tell us a lot of what's going on, especially since we don't have a lot of stocks sticking out with individual catalysts that just really pop out and hit you and say this stock is definitely doing something. Think Uber yesterday, right? Uber yesterday, just as an example, the entire market downtrended for a good portion of the day, and Uber did this, right? It went straight up almost the entire day. So this is a stock that was obviously in catalyst. Also something I'm going to be watching for a second day play, potentially today, although Uber trades like the nicey piece of junk that it is. It is a very difficult stock to trade at times, but on a day with catalyst, if you'd gotten it in the right spot and used reasonable risk, you could have gotten a big move out of it. So for now, let's go ahead and pop up into Sava. Sava is not one that I really like to play a lot, but I think we've got a really obvious level here coming out, which is at VWAP, the bottom of this candle. Notice how that pegs through right at the top of this candle. So we obviously have like a low, where the floor becomes the ceiling is often a good indication of where your levels sit, right? So, and you can see now that you go back in time, you can see that we have had multiple moves down towards this area. Now we've come up into it and rejected it, right? So Sava looks very interesting today, but it may have already done what it was going to do, right? It may have just been a little pre-market pop where it runs up, and then you're going to spend the rest of your day chopping. So that's the level I really like there. Otherwise, I'm going to be looking for it to come back and retest, right, yesterday's or the previous day's close here, which happens to be the bottom of today's candle. I want to see how that holds. We lose that thing, then we're going to be looking to move down. We break above, then maybe in this range, maybe we look to move up in the range. Next level from there is going to be like the bottom of this candle here, somewhere over there. You can see how that cuts through. So SFIX. SFIX, not the best order flow in the pre-market, but gapping up for sure. One thing I really like about SFIX, just on the volume on the daily, is we did bottom with volume, and then we've been on higher volume and building volume as we've been starting to push back against this downtrend. So I do not find it surprising that today we find ourselves well gapped up after looking at this volume. The question is, are we going to gap and see and come back down and test and then push back up? If so, I'm going to be looking at yesterday's high for that kind of a play, maybe even the moving average here, the 20 EMA on the daily. See if it comes back and holds any of those. Notice how that's the bottom of this range. If it holds those, then I would be looking for a long play. If it goes long at the open, then the critical areas are going to be right back here. So we're going to be looking to break out from this range. Let's tighten that just a titch. There we go. $43 specifically looking like the break. That's going to be the level we're going to be most interested in watching. All right, let's see. Sophie in the house. I call it Sophie because my daughter watches Princess Sophia all the time, Sophia the First. So whenever I see Sophie, I can't help myself but just say Sophie, even though it's clearly Sophie. You can see here we are making a bit of a push here today. We do have quite an obvious area where we've attempted to leave many times, but this area continuously gets stuffed. So I don't know if we've got a large seller that sits up here and holds or a big short seller that's invested, so they keep committing to their short every time it tries to push. But this thing gets hammered every time it tries to go. Today, gapping a bit away from value. Bit of a volume signal a couple of days ago, but nothing huge. So may a little rally out of Sophie and then continued chop is most likely. However, if this thing can get up and go, it could certainly be worth looking at. We are breaking out from the cam, so maybe look for a back test of R4 somewhere back near 1550. And then maybe along there if it works. All right, Vail. Vail gapping up big time after a high volume push. We're also getting some movement in the morning. I've seen some trades come out of Vail, although I'll have to admit I don't really trade it that often, but we are trying to break away from R4 right now. So per usual, when these are breaking out like this, I look for a back test of VWAP or even R4 before I'll go long. And that's going to be what I would be looking for here. If we decide to go long, that back test level is probably going to be somewhere right around here, 1650. Notice that's right above VWAP. And then we're going to look for a move up. Look, we have a kind of a gap area here. These are some really interesting spots. And then back up to value, kind of the asserted value near 18. If we decide to lose, then, we're going to look to run our entire candle, come back down to previous day's close, something like that. All right, LCID. LCID has been running really, really nicely for the past few days, putting in some really, really nice trending moves. Pulls back a little bit more than I'd like, but it works if you can manage your risk well. LCID pushed on really high volume here, looking for maybe another move up. This thing, ever since it had its news break back in beginning of September, has been straight push ever since. Notice here, if you zoom out just a little bit, we have kind of these levels here. Where is it at? Right there. See that little right above VWAP? We got this candle tucking in here, hits this candle here, and then look right into the top of both of our candles. So this level, sub 28, looks really, really good. Look how that's already playing this morning. So if we break from that level, then I'm going to look for a run all the way to basically $30. That's going to be the top of that range. If we can try and break out from 30, then things are going to get really interesting. LCID has traded as high as 60, almost $65 at one time. So you can definitely see we have some upward potential. Now, we've been running nonstop for like 2 weeks. And we did get some high volume up here. So if per chance we push and stuff, then I would actually look for it to run the entire candle and come back down and test this area right around $25. WKHS is on the big downward spiral that it has been in for months now. Still more bad news coming out on that, so I don't know what to expect out of WKHS. I think the really critical levels to pay attention to are right back here. right? I mean, you can see where we've went off before and we've tried to make a new low, basically losing $7, and we've bought up off of that level. Looks like a squeezed opportunity here or something, right? So if we hold these levels and push, then I'd probably look for a pullback, see if it runs back up to $8. But I wouldn't expect too much out of WKHS unless some kind of major volume signal comes in. Otherwise, level 2 does have some squeeze showing, but plenty of bid to the downside. So right now we're showing a lot of balance, so I'd expect it to chop a lot, and then pick a direction, and who knows what that's going to be at this point. Looks like it'd be done.
Shorts that I have available with IB, less than 100,000. So
those will be gone before you even have a chance.
It's like 85,000 is last I looked, so that could be gone.
Yeah, those will be gone before we have anything to do with it. 2 more, and then I'll grab some stuff from the room. FedEx, FDX here. We know that one's on a big gap down. It's been trending down. We've got earnings issues, we have production issues, and we have downgrades. So FedEx, if you're looking for catalyst, FedEx has it. Will it trade well or not? I don't know. FedEx sometimes runs a weird spread, and it can be difficult to trade. But today could be that day. The question is, do we try and fill the gap a little first, then drop? Or are we just going to drop straight up? If we try and fill the gap, I think the way up is fairly obvious. Gap comes back up to 250-ish, just underneath. See where these tops are. If we go to lose, though, I mean, we got some really critical areas right back here, which is right where we've touched this morning. So this is the level I'm really going to be paying attention to, is this 235 to 234.71, like pre-market low likely. If we lose that, then I'm going to look for FedEx to tumble. If we hold up here and get some volume in, the squeeze could happen. We are getting a bit below VWAP. So how's our short? Let's see. How's our short float on this one? Short float's extremely low though, so not too much of that maybe.
Widely institutionally held.
Yeah. It held by institutions 75%. So 3/4 of all positions in this are institutional ones. So keep that in mind, y'all. And lastly, but not leastly, what you got, Norm?
I was just going to say, it's in a lot of mutual funds, things like that, too.
Too big to fail?
It won't be failing. I mean, you know, it's just a lot of times those big blue chip names, which this is kind of one of those these days, not going to, may not be that interesting, but we'll see. Maybe today is the exception. They did have earnings last night.
All right, and then lastly, we got B-Big. B-Big has just been kind of in play. One thing I do notice on B-Big is it was really in play for this first week here, but notice our average volume is continuously dropping on every candle. So it really looks like it's losing interest, not gaining interest right now. B-Big is, with how sporadic this is, since it's been in play for me, I would just be using previous day's candle for the most part on B-Big. Obviously, if it loses, if it can hold and stay under previous day's close, then you could be looking for continued down movement there. If you lose yesterday's low, then that's going to be a real big signal to move lower. But again, all the way down at $6 already. If it's going to make a move up, then I would probably use previous day, use this moving average, the 9 moving average, maybe even previous day's high. But not seeing a ton in B-Big I'm loving right now, but I have seen this thing move, so it might be worth a secondary. All right, let's grab a little bit of stuff from the room. I saw someone mention Facebook. I saw MRIN.
MRIN we need to look at for sure. One thing I'm going to say about Uber, you've got it down there on the list. It's moving pretty decently. When it IPO'd, it opened at $45. It's an extremely strong level. I mentioned it yesterday. It pulled right off of that. Keep an eye on that level to see how it reacts there and which way it's going to move from that.
What was that IPO level again?
It opened at 45 the day it IPO'd, so it's right in that.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so IPO level 45. So I'm going to go ahead and let's call that, because I think that's a great level to keep an eye on. Great info there, Norm. If I can select this thing, 45. Let's make it 45. Yeah, look at that too. From yesterday's action, I mean, Norm's 100% right. Look at that exact touch to 45. So 45 looking critical. If we can get a back test of 45 and it can hold, we do have upward ladder still on on Uber, and not a ton of downside ladder. So we actually do look bullish in the level 2 as well. So maybe a little back test of VWAP and go. We do have some order flow starting to come in, some volume. So Uber could go for a play again today. Facebook is dropping. I don't know if there's anything new, but Facebook just brought in some volume. 100,000 or so shares have come in, and we started to sell off a bit. Not sure if this is an indication of what tech's going to do today. If so, then tech might offer some interesting plays today. On the daily chart, Facebook already basically ran the entire range from the prior candles now and is sitting at the low. So I'm going to be paying attention to previous low and to see how Facebook continues to react with that. And then you come out a little bit wider and you can kind of see these test areas that Facebook's run to the downside already. Any news on Facebook, or is it just kind of doing some...
They're continually getting hit on, what was it, Wall Street Journal report or whatever it was. I can't remember which media outlet it was that did the deal about how Facebook is essentially toxic to people. And
the social dilemma.
Congress is a little fired up and wants to talk to him again. Of course, they always pull him in, talk to him, and nothing ever happens. But.
Right? Yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? It's kind of funny. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we certainly all know our own things about the social dilemma and how too much of that is not a good thing. But I think in any scenario, too much of anything is probably not great. So Facebook continuing to feel the pressure, getting dragged into Congress maybe. So, people are going, man, I think people are going, Facebook's at $380. Maybe I'll just sell some, let it come back down into the 300, 200s, and then I'll buy some more there.
Time for us to wrap it up. So any last ones you got to hit real quick? Andrew's ready to
you had mentioned MRIN.
Yeah, that's an important one to keep an eye on. So take a look there, and then we'll throw it to Andrew.
Cool. Yeah, we got MRNN gapping seriously. Do we have any news on MRNN that's causing this gap? Because that's new. Otherwise, let's take a look at here. And I've got Andrew starting to come in. I don't have Brian yet, but I got Andrew in the house. I'll pop over to him in just a second. If MRN starts running, we can kind of see these clean areas here, $12.
They have a deal with Google that they announced earlier this morning.
Deal with Google.
Revenue sharing agreement or something of that nature. So.
All right, so that's the last levels I'll do. I'll just give a quick shout out for watch lists. All right, Brian, our Prophet of Profit, is watching AA, Sava, Billy, Bros, X, and ATER. Andrew's got MRIN on deck, as well as Apple, AMC, LCID, and some of the ones, also FDX, DEMA, Apple, SoFi, X, MRIN, John H, MRNA, NVIDIA, Tesla, JP Morgan, and Airbnb. Tiffany's got LCID, Sava for secondary, Uber, and FedEx. Simon with his first watch list. Welcome, brother, to the game. He's watching American Airlines, Disca, Donkey Kong, DKNG, TLRY. Peter's got AMD, WKHS, and FedEx. And I'm going to be probably watching, per usual, Apple, but I'm also going to keep an eye on MRIN, Uber, Facebook, and FedEx. So I'm going to go ahead and pop over to Andrew and Brian for some live trading, everybody. I hope everyone had a great day. Throw us a like for the pre-market show if you have a moment, and otherwise, have a great one.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Trade safe.
Hey, Andrew, Brian, how's it going, gents?
Good. Very good. Always a good morning when one of your swing trades is at the top of the Gappers watch list.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Which one did you get?
Sava, S-A-V-A. I've been talking about that one.
Yes, you have. Nice.
Yeah. Missed that big pop this morning. I slept through that one, unfortunately. But still,
nice. Well,
still up so $6.50.
How are you doing, Brian, this morning? Besides making money on Sava, is there anything else that you want to share with us?
Excellent. Starbuck, way to go. Yeah, no, good. Everything else is good. Markets are up. So we got the Fed meeting minutes coming out at 2. today, so probably a little bit of volatility in the afternoon. So we'll see what happens there. Excellent, yes.
How's my microphone gain now? Is it better? I don't know. You guys can you hear better?
2 Eastern time. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I was messing around with the microphone a little bit here. So perfecto. Sounds crispy. Oh, I like that. If you can hear me well, so yeah, market is gapping up because apparently Evergrande, the Chinese real estate company, they did say that they can do some of their bond stuff. They haven't defaulted yet, but yeah, so the market is kind of bounced back and they can pay on
Everybody's
short debt.
happy.
So yeah, that's exactly, Jared. Yeah, everybody's happy. So market is popping up. Let's see if they can hold this. IWM is popping up a little bit. Qs in May. SPY in May. Hopefully IWM is gonna go up, do some stuff. Yeah, so LCID is interesting, popping up 2.4 million shares volume. Potential opening range break up toward 28 and above. SFIX, Stitch Fix. I remember this one was trading really meh.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it trades very good. It doesn't trade very cleanly.
ATR is moving up towards potential 15. So the higher pre-market is at 14.16. Sava. Sava had a really nice pop to 7, but let's see how it's being traded. Definitely not an easy trade.
No, it's kind of jerky in the pre-market.
Yeah. Clover Health. Workhorse. I can't believe Workhorse is at $7. It was at $40 earlier this year.
Yeah, I know.
What happened?
Crazy, right?
Look at this. Wow. Is that it? What
that was the
happened
one
to
that they. Well, that was the one they were filming the thing rolling down the hill and making it look like it was running. We know all about that. Facebook is just getting destroyed. Facebook is just getting destroyed now.
I'm gonna be back in a second. Facebook. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So for me, my watch list, it seems that it's getting ready for opening range breakup. All of them. LCID, Lucid. Brian, what was your watch list, Brian? AA.
AA and X. They seem like they're going to pop again here. AA is already up a fair amount. And then infrastructure plays. I'm looking at the Chinese stocks. I think the Chinese stocks are going to be good today on that news. Stitch Fix is dropping. Yeah, Sava's not looking that. It's not trading that cleanly. We should have caught that pop to 65. God.
On who? Sava?
Sava. Jeez, yeah, when
you
it
gotta
really
wake up
popped
earlier.
Up there.
That's why.
I know.
That's 5:30 in our time. Yeah. There's always when you're trading in the Pacific time zone, there's always this sleep deprivation. Plus, there's always this opportunity cost of waking up at 5 a.m. trading the pre-market.
Say Q's are. No, I'd say no. I shouldn't say. Yeah, they're selling off pretty good. We're still up, but what dollar's kind of flat. What's the? We've got 3 minutes to the open here. What's going on with the yields?
Oil at 71, Bitcoin
Um,
42, futures meh.
Yields are really flat right now. They're trading flat. Nothing strong coffee can. Yeah, true. Well, there you go.
Greg,
See, there's the
the
Dutch
people in
brothers.
Alaska are the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I've got. That's why I'm watching Dutch brothers.
Guys, you can see my screen, by the way. You can see my screen. You just have to change the screen. Oh man, these hot girls and boys webcam video chats spams are in YouTube are awesome. They're just constantly hitting us. Do you want to watch us hot girls and boys? Anyone wants to watch hot girls and boys in YouTube? These bots are coming and commenting. Fuck, it's so funny. Yeah, I get a lot of them in YouTube too. Suddenly, the whole world wants
Crazy.
to show their pictures to me. I don't know why. It's just all these scams and this. They're bots creating accounts. That's why Facebook is going down.
Yeah, Facebook's really. Yeah, it's trying to find a bottom here at 345.
Yeah,
I think AA is
exactly,
going to
Sean.
be
They're in a
strong.
different channel. They're in a long channel. Hot stocks and.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, they had a really nice presentation. We had a 920 trade, Brian and I. So we're gonna post it. I'm gonna send an email. It's on Education Center. You should definitely take a look at it. I'm gonna watch from all of this stuff. I want to see it. AMC, no. SFIX, no. ATR is interesting. Might actually put ATR as the main watch list that I have. With break of 15. Sava, not sure about it. FedEx is garbage. Yeah, I think from all of them, ATR is interesting. MRIN is also interesting looking at it. For potential.
Yeah, I'm watching. I've replaced ATR with MRIN.
And
Yeah,
Dr. Cap's
I'm
final
gonna.
episode tonight. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I was. I'm probably going to. I'm looking at Facebook. I'm thinking I might try a Rising Devil on this. We'll see if it pops up to the View app, 350-ish, for a short. It's a little bit dangerous trade, so I'll keep the size small if I do that trade.
If MRIN drops to 10, maybe a good buy for a Rising Devil. If it pops up right at the open, it might be hard, but it might be a good buy below the VWAP for Rising Devil. See how it goes. What's the other one that we had? MRIN. There was another one that was active. ATR, was it? No?
ATR. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
No cloth. ATR is already popping. MRIN, it's setting up. Let's see.
You got long AA.
Lucid, really nice volume. Very strong. Let's see what MRIN doing. Yeah, Lucid is strong. ATR is also really strong. MRIN, I should have bought MRIN at 10:30.
I've shorted Facebook here. 349.50.
I'm taking it long on the MRIN at 1080. I'm in a 5-minute candlestick.
And I am.
Small
And I'm
size.
long AA as well. Just sold some AA at 48.
Lucid. I'm taking also long on Lucid at 27.92. I'm gonna get out of MRIN here. Yeah, I'm getting out of MRIN. I'm long Lucid at 27.90. LCID, that's a better opening range breakup. 27.90, 28.10, selling some here at 28.12. I think that's good enough for a good pop.
Selling some
MRN.
AA at 48.30, covering some Facebook. Oh yes.
I'm long LCID. LCID turned out to be a much better opening range breakout. MRN garbage. Let's see if we can get the break
Nice,
on
Peter.
LCID.
Nice. I'm just covering some
MRN is
more
getting
down here
destroyed.
at the low of the day, 346.20. Oh,
Peter
two
is doing
killer
what?
trades.
Facebook, nice.
Peter's with me on
Nice. Good for
Facebook.
you
Yeah.
guys. Good for you. You
Beautiful.
converted
Nice
Peter
rising
to
devil.
Rising Devil.
Rising
Yeah,
devil.
nice.
The rising devil trade. The classic.
Okay, LCID. I'm getting out of LCID at the break even now. How much short do we have? We have shares for short on it. Yeah, I had a couple of trades here. See what's going to happen. IWM stayed strong. Lucid lost
Nice,
it.
Scott. Yeah,
The
beauty.
kind of market is kind of
Just
rejecting
yeah,
the
I think
Qs or rejecting it. Yeah.
I'm just basically out of Facebook. I didn't have a lot of shares, just 400 shares, but that was a beauty trade.
It's really selling off. This is a short LCID.
Here is still holding
My
some AA. This makes me think of
shit, I was
Alcoholics
hoping to get a
Anonymous.
short on the LCID, but no mercy. It just keeps going up. It's
Like,
gonna go red for the day. That's
now
for
I'm just
sure.
holding. I'm holding AA for 49.
I'm taking a short on the
Yesterday's high
LCID
was
at 27.10.
49.14 on AA.
Taking a short on LCID at 27.20. Let's see if you can go. This pullback here might be a potential entry for stop loss would be giving it 20 cents or something. MRN is selling off. AMC selling off.
Yeah, MRNN was a dog's breakfast. So eventually this will flatten out. This will stop selling off. It'll flatten out, and then we'll get a pop on it. So just kind of watch for that.
I'm taking that short on LCID at 27.25. Let's see. That bounce was not great. Covering my short on LCID. I'm all out on LCID. I just didn't like that big bounce. I'm all out on flat on it. Might yeah. AMC might go for opening range breaker. ATER's coming back off.
Facebook's a bit of a double bottom there.
I'm taking a long on ATER at 15.12. Taking a long on ATER.
Oh, you should have stuck with.
Come on.
Should have stuck with that LCID.
I know.
I thought about
I
joining you on that short, but then you talked me out of it.
No, I don't know why I did that. I'm long on ATER at 15.12, 15.32. See if you can get the next pop on it. So I'm getting out some here at 15.40. Yeah, LCID turned out to be a really nice. I'm all out on it. I don't know.
Oh, it just went red on the day too.
Look at the LCID.
Damn, eh?
You didn't give me too much
I'm still in AA.
I've got this
Still
anxiety.
holding.
I don't trust my decisions.
I think the AA is going to be kind of one might just grind all day. Might just grind higher all day.
I'm flat, guys. It's just I don't know. For some reason, I can't focus on my decisions. CID, AMC setting off. How's the market doing? Q. So IWM is running, eh? MRAN is going destroyed. Qs are selling off. Do you think TQQ would be a good buy? Buying some TQQ here. TNA is running up. Buying some TNA here as well, adding some TNA. Yeah, ATR is going to go up again.
It seems like it needs to get some more volume here. Yeah.
Brian, it seems that we lost the YouTube. Do you want to come back into the chat room directly? And for some reason.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah.
I shall come into the chat room.